The Fifth Column, seduced by the dark side. Many of us wondered how La Quinta Columna, LQC, the fifth column, with the discoveries made so overwhelming that they uncovered a plot against humanity when they decided to look through a microscope and analyze the content of the jab vials. Crossing the available data with the launch of 5G, they continued without ceasing every day with their nightly programs, and that despite having received death threats. As the programs went by, they had been revealing many plans of the elites and exposing all the lies of the media regarding what is happening in the world. And every day they continue with that commendable work. With their tireless investigations, they came to the conclusion that everything that was happening in the world now and always had been orchestrated by invisible non-human entities that LQC called they, Factor E, and whose servants and puppets are the dehumanized scum that surroundings politicians, scientists, judges, prosecutors, police, soldiers, health workers, journalists, and countless grateful stomachs, and who are visible mostly in the media. But the elites, the cabal, or they are not stupid. Too many people watching them to send a henchman to get rid of Ricardo and Sevillano. Instead, they thought that a channel with so many followers could be recycled through appropriate manipulation and become a weapon that worked for them without having to get rid of anyone physically. There was an easier, cheaper, and more advantageous way than sending a hitman to physically eliminate him. In this way, they would not destroy LQC, which had revealed its plans, but what they would achieve was to turn it over to the dark side. But how could this be achieved? How could LQC work for them without anyone noticing? Well, mentally and emotionally controlling one of the channel's two main directors. And who is the more inclined of the two? Well, in my opinion, Dr. Sevillano. Why? Because of his religious profile, and because he is the ideal person to be parasitized and controlled, and at the same time with the power to control the feverish masses of LQC followers. Ricardo simply did not fit the profile, and it would have been more difficult to control him. They had it easy. His past as a recalcitrant ultra-Orthodox Catholic would be a key asset to play against the LQC itself, and thus the cabal would reverse the devastating actions against the elites and them, their masters. The way I see it, it would be easy to play with Sevillano's emotions and feelings and make his religious beliefs the most powerful weapon against him and his followers. From that moment on, a person appears in Sevillano's life. To see his image, click on the link in the description of this video. That person is supposedly his wife. People were surprised, but held their breath until the woman's appearance was common in Sevillano's short sanctimonious videos, tirelessly mentioning passages from the Bible where she actively participated, and he entered into an ecclesiastical trance. But precisely when this person appears is when the religious drift of Sevillano increases and frequent mentions are made of passages from the Bible and the Old Testament and others to show that they've always been here and that there is a divine plan to filter out the good from the bad. But this drift, in my opinion, is their maneuver of routing and distraction against the followers. Sevillano, with his devout harangues, has gone through the religious hills of Ubeda to bring back to the sanctimonious fold many of his regular co-religionists on the channel who think that Jesus is going to return to save their asses, for which they will pray to him daily, giving in not only his power to them, but feeding them the energy released from his fervent prayers and the fear that Sevillano unconsciously instills every night in the faithful audience with his apocalyptic sermons. And, in reality, with these maneuvers he does nothing more than place in the hands of his divine creator, who is none other than Yahweh, either Jehovah or a demonic entity, as clearly indicated in the photo, see sign YWH. The lives of his followers and his own in the face of the impotence, or perhaps the apathy, to find a way to put an end to them. The desire for an asteroid to appear and collide with the Earth is almost daily because it can no longer tolerate so much filth and aberrations committed by them. Some followers, including myself, tried to warn Sevillano that the drift towards religion was a very dangerous step since religions were precisely made by them and also the Bible and the rest of the sacred scriptures, which were a way of population control and creating energy of worship for those entities called them. Instead of focusing on his beliefs as a way to save the souls of his congregation, we proposed using more expeditious methods against the non-human entities behind all this mess. We had to take a step forward because the LQC disclosure had already entered an endless loop and contact people who are experts in interdimensional entities. This is the case of Jackaner 73, Fran Parejo, or the interdimensional warrior. Such a proposal must have been a hard blow for LQC because if achieved, it would mean the individual empowerment of the followers against these entities, which would be defeated, and the more than likely closure of the channel. Sevillano felt offended because his beliefs were attacked. He felt that they were attacking his creator and his son. He castled himself in his dogmas, and there was no way to convince him that he had to follow the path, and that path did not pass through the pages of the Bible, or through the hands of his creator, or through the Mosaic laws of the Ten Commandments, or through filtrations of any type for humans. This was a way of restricting the LQC itself so that it would not continue advancing along a path that had to necessarily pass through spirituality and true metaphysics that speaks of the cosmos, of the soul as a fractal of the original source, of the power it has, of love, and also about the sources of darkness and above all about how to combat the dark entities that control the world. Sevillano refused to see what we were saying and blocked us. And this is when he himself confirms that he has put himself in their hands without him having noticed. And I suspect that his wife is the link between the Sevillano of the beginning and the Sevillano of now. And not only the nexus, but a physical succubus-type agent who works for them who has managed to make Sevillano mentally, emotionally, and sentimentally parasitized, being short-circuited by his past as a dogmatic drug addict, making him relapse into his old, outdated, and additive beliefs. This will inevitably cause LQC to become an egregore that depends on them directly and will be fed by the lush energy of the self-righteous followers who make Sevillano a messiah that will only lead to their spiritual destruction and the collapse of LQC itself. There is still time to reverse what seems impossible. We just have to get on track and conveniently confront those dark entities that govern us, and if anyone can do it, this is LQC. But it is essential to have an open mind and spirit to contact people with experience, such as those I propose, who can identify and combat these entities. If LQC takes that step, it will be a good way to continue in the fight that will lead us to the final victory.